Oh no!
She drunk texted her resignation to the wrong number. The person who replied was a Korean billionaire. He said, "I'm listening." She should have stopped texting. She didn't. 3 months later, she's flying to Seoul to meet him. She still doesn't know if this is the bravest or stupidest thing she's ever done. Before we begin, if you believe love can show up in unexpected ways, you're in the right place. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notification. Now, let me tell you about Oluchi. Oluchi's hand trembled as she stared at the half-empty wine glass on her coffee table. The fourth glass. Or was it the fifth? She'd stopped counting after her boss had humiliated her in front of the entire marketing team that afternoon. "Your campaign ideas lack vision," he'd said, his voice dripping with condescension. "Maybe you're just not cut out for this level of work." 23 people had watched her face turn red. 23 witnesses to her professional execution. And not one person had defended her. Not one. She grabbed her phone with shaking fingers, the wine making her movements sloppy, but her resolve crystal clear. She was done. Finished. She'd rather wait tables than spend another day in that soul-crushing office. Her thumbs flew across the keyboard, each word a small act of rebellion. "I quit. Effective immediately. I don't care about the notice period. I don't care about the project deadlines. I'm done being treated like I'm invisible. Find someone else to belittle. I'm out." She hit send before she could second-guess herself. The relief was instantaneous. A weight lifted from her chest. She could breathe again. She reached for her wine glass, ready to toast her newfound freedom, when her phone buzzed. That was fast. He was probably going to threaten her about the contract clause or... She looked at the screen and froze. The message read, "I don't think I'm who you meant to text, but I'm listening." Oluchi's stomach dropped. Her eyes darted to the top of the screen. Unknown number. Not her boss. Not even close. Oh God, she whispered to her empty apartment. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. Delete the thread? Apologize? Pretend she'd been hacked? The wine made every option seem equally terrible and equally hilarious. She typed back, her cheeks burning despite being alone. "I am so sorry. That was meant for someone else. Please ignore that completely unhinged message." The response came within seconds. "Don't apologize." It sounded like you needed to say it. Did it help? Oluchi blinked at the screen. That wasn't the response she'd expected. Most people would have sent a curt, wrong number and moved on. But this stranger was asking if she was okay? Honestly? Yes, Oluchi texted back. But now I'm mortified that a complete stranger just witnessed my breakdown. "I've had worse things sent to me by strangers," he wrote. "At least yours was honest." What happened? She should stop. She should thank him politely and end the conversation. But the wine had lowered her inhibitions, and something about the gentle curiosity in his messages made her want to keep talking. "Bad day at work," Oluchi typed. Really bad. The kind that makes you question if you're actually good at anything or if you've just been faking it for years. "Imposter syndrome?" he asked. Oluchi replied, "That, and a boss who seems to enjoy reminding me I'm replaceable." She watched the 3 dots appear and disappear twice before his message arrived. "You're not replaceable." People who make you feel that way are usually threatened by you. Something cracked open in Oluchi's chest. She didn't even know this person, but those words hit harder than any pep talk her friends had given her. Maybe because he had nothing to gain from lying to her. Maybe because he was a stranger and somehow that made it more real. "Thank you," she texted. "I needed to hear that. Even from someone who doesn't know me. Sometimes strangers are easier to talk to," he wrote. No history. No judgment. Just honesty. She found herself smiling despite everything. "You make a good accidental therapist." "I've been told I'm a good listener," he replied. "It's probably my only talent." "Somehow I doubt that," Oluchi texted. "What would you do?" he asked. "If you really quit, I mean." The question caught her off guard. She'd sent that resignation in anger, in pain, in wine-soaked rebellion. But what would she do? "I don't know," Oluchi typed. "Maybe something creative. I used to paint. Before the job ate all my time and energy." "Why did you stop?" he asked. "Bills. Rent. The adult decision to be practical instead of happy," she wrote. "That's the saddest sentence I've read today," he replied. Oluchi laughed, a real laugh that surprised her. Welcome to adulthood. It's disappointing. It doesn't have to be, he wrote. She stared at those 4 words. It doesn't have to be. When had she started believing that disappointment was just part of the package? When had she accepted that dreams were for other people? Easy to say, she texted. Harder to live. Fair, he replied. But not impossible. They texted back and forth for another hour. He didn't push. He didn't try to fix her. He just asked questions and listened to her answers, and that simple act of attention felt more valuable than anything she'd experienced in months. Oluchi told him about her college dreams of opening a small gallery. He told her about feeling trapped by expectations. She mentioned her favorite painting, and he surprised her by knowing the artist. He said he traveled often for work, and she joked that he was probably a spy. Not a spy, he wrote. Just someone who's on planes too much. Business? Oluchi asked. Something like that, he replied. Not as exciting as it sounds. At one point, Oluchi glanced at the clock and gasped. It was past 2 in the morning. She'd been texting a stranger for 4 hours. For hours that had flown by faster than any date she'd been on in years. I should let you sleep, Oluchi typed. I've probably kept you up way too long. I don't mind, he replied. This was the best conversation I've had in weeks. Her heart did a small flip. Me too. Thank you for being kind to a drunk stranger having a crisis. Thank you for making my night more interesting, he wrote. Get some sleep, Oluchi. She smiled at the screen, her exhaustion finally catching up with her. Good night, mysterious stranger. Good night, he replied. Oluchi plugged in her phone and collapsed into bed, expecting to pass out immediately. Instead, she lay awake, replaying the conversation in her mind. She didn't even know his name. But somehow, he'd made her feel less alone than she'd felt in months. The next morning arrived with a pounding headache and a flood of regret. Oluchi grabbed her phone, cringing as she opened her messages. Had she really texted a stranger about her entire life crisis? Had she really shared her abandoned dreams with someone whose name she didn't even know? But there, at the bottom of their conversation, was a new message. Sent an hour ago. I hope you're feeling better today. Don't let yesterday define you. Oluchi's chest tightened. She typed back before she could overthink it, hungover but alive. Thank you again for last night. You didn't have to be so kind. The reply came faster than she expected. Kindness isn't something you have to earn. How's the job situation? She groaned, remembering her sent resignation text. The real one. She opened her work messages and found exactly what she'd expected. 3 missed calls from her boss and a curt email about discussing her unprofessional behavior first thing Monday morning. Probably catastrophic, Oluchi texted. I actually did send that resignation to my boss. I'm going to be job hunting soon. Maybe that's not the worst thing, he replied. Easy to say when you're not staring at an empty bank account, she wrote. True. Sorry. That was insensitive, he replied. His immediate acknowledgement surprised her. Most people doubled down when called out. But he'd apologized without defensiveness, without ego. It's okay, she wrote. You're right anyway. I've been miserable there for over a year. Maybe getting fired is the universe's way of forcing me to make a change. What would you want to do? He asked. If money wasn't an issue. Oluchi paused, her fingers hovering over the keyboard. It was such a simple question. But she couldn't remember the last time someone had asked her what she wanted, not what was practical or smart or safe. Paint, she typed. Open a small studio. Teach classes. Something that feels meaningful instead of just profitable. That sounds like a good life, he wrote. That sounds like a fantasy, Oluchi replied. Why can't it be both? He asked. They texted throughout the day. Small messages. Nothing deep. But every notification made her heart jump. He sent her a photo of a sunset from wherever he was, the sky streaked with orange and violet, and she sent him a terrible selfie with her coffee, making fun of her hangover hair. Days blurred into a week. The text messages became routine. Morning check-ins. Evening debriefs. Random observations sent in the middle of the day. Oluchi found herself composing messages to him in her mind before she'd even typed them out. She learned small things. He drank his coffee black. He had a younger sister he worried about. He didn't sleep well. He loved old architecture and hated crowded restaurants. He'd been to 38 countries, but couldn't remember the last time he'd actually enjoyed traveling. She told him about her disastrous Monday meeting where her boss had oscillated between fury and forced pleasantness, clearly afraid she'd sue. She told him about her mother's phone call asking when she'd settle down with a nice man. She told him about finding her old sketchbooks in a closet and crying for 20 minutes. "Why were you crying?" he asked. "Because I forgot how much I loved it," Oluchi replied. "And how much I gave up." "It's not too late," he wrote. "I'm 29. "That feels late," she texted. "I'm 33, and I'm just figuring out what I actually want," he wrote. "You're ahead of schedule." 2 weeks in, they graduated to voice notes. Oluchi heard his voice for the first time low, calm, with the faintest accent she couldn't quite place, and felt something shift in her chest. He sounded like his texts. Thoughtful, careful, kind. Her voice note back was self-conscious and rambling. "Sorry, I hate the sound of my own voice. I sound like I'm 12. Anyway, yes, I found a studio space I can maybe afford if I eat ramen for 6 months straight. It's tiny and the lighting is terrible, but it has potential. Am I crazy for considering this?" His response came an hour later. "You don't sound 12. You sound excited. And no, you're not crazy. Courage always looks like craziness until it works." Oluchi listened to that voice note 4 times, his words settling into her bones like a promise. 3 weeks became a month. Voice notes became phone calls. The first call lasted 6 minutes and was awkward, both of them laughing nervously at the pauses. The second call lasted 40 minutes. The third lasted until Oluchi's phone died at 2 in the morning, and she'd fallen asleep to the sound of his voice. "What's your name?" Oluchi asked one night, the question emerging suddenly. There was a pause on his end. A long one. "Does it matter?" he asked. "I guess not," Oluchi said. "But I'd like to know. I feel like I know everything else about you." "Sujin," he said. "Sujin," she repeated, testing the shape of it in her mouth. "I like it." "Oluchi suits you," he replied. "How would you know?" Oluchi asked. "You've never seen me." Another pause. "Maybe I don't need to." Her heart hammered against her ribs. They were crossing a line, she could feel it. Moving from strangers to something undefined. Something dangerous. "Do you ever think this is weird?" Oluchi asked quietly. "That we talk every day but we've never met?" "Yes," he said. His honesty startled her. "Does it bother you?" "No," he replied. "Does it bother you?" "No. But it scares me," Oluchi said. "Why?" he asked. Oluchi took a breath. "Because I think I miss you. And you can't miss someone you've never met. That's not how it works." The silence stretched. Oluchi could hear her own heartbeat. She'd said too much. Revealed too much. He was going to pull away now, establish boundaries, remind her this was just. "I miss you too," he said. Her breath caught. 3 words. Simple. Devastating. "Sujin," she started. "I know," he interrupted. "I know it doesn't make sense. But it's true." They didn't call the next day. Or the day after. Both of them pulling back from the edge they'd nearly tumbled over. Oluchi threw herself into painting, trying to distract herself from checking her phone every 5 minutes. She'd signed the lease on the studio. Given her official resignation. Started planning her first class. But everything felt hollow without his voice in her ear. On the 3rd day, her phone rang. Not a message. A call. She answered without breathing. "Hi." "Hi," he said. His voice was rougher than usual, tired. "I'm sorry I disappeared." "It's okay," Oluchi replied. "It's not," Sujin said. "I got scared." Oluchi sank onto her couch, phone pressed to her ear. "Me too. I don't want to lose this," he said. "Whatever this is." "Then don't," she replied. She heard him exhale. "I need to tell you something. About me. About my life. But I'm afraid it'll change things." "Everything changes things," Oluchi said. "Tell me anyway." But he didn't. Not that night. Instead, he told her about the city he was in, Seoul, finally admitting he was Korean, that he'd grown up between there and California. He told her about his favorite street food and the bookstore he discovered that only sold poetry. He told her about feeling disconnected from himself, like he was playing a role he'd never auditioned for. Oluchi told him about her first class, how 3 people had shown up and how one of them had cried while painting. She told him it felt like coming home to herself. "I'm proud of you," he said quietly. Those 4 words meant more than any praise she'd ever received. They fell back into rhythm. Daily messages. Late-night calls. Voice notes that felt like love letters without the declaration. Oluchi's studio started filling with students. Her savings account started shrinking, but her heart started expanding. She painted more in 2 months than she had in 5 years. "This is because of you," she told him one night. "No," Sujin replied. "It's because of you. I'm just the one who answered the text." Then came the day that changed everything. They were texting light, easy conversation when Oluchi asked about his work. He'd always been vague. Travel, meetings, pressure, but never specifics. "Do you hate it?" she asked. "Sometimes," he wrote. "It's complicated." "Because of expectations?" Oluchi texted. "Because I didn't choose it," Sujin replied. "It chose me." "Family business?" she asked. A pause. Then, something like that. Oluchi pushed a little. "What kind of business?" Another pause. Longer. "Development. Investment." "It's boring," he wrote. But something in his evasiveness nagged at her. That night, she couldn't sleep. She found herself opening her laptop, typing his name into the search bar. Just his first name and soul and business. Nothing came up. She tried variations. Sujin. Development. Investment. Korean. Then, almost as an afterthought, she added Billionaire. Her screen flooded with results. Hong Sujin. Heir to Hong Industries. Net worth estimated at $2.4 billion. Youngest son of one of Korea's most powerful families. Notoriously private. Rarely photographed. The monk prince, the articles called him isolated, brilliant, untouchable. Oluchi's hands shook as she clicked through photos. Most were from years ago, formal events where he stood in the background looking uncomfortable. But there was one recent photo. Blurry, taken from a distance. But it was unmistakably him. Or at least, she assumed it was. Dark hair. Sharp features. The same careful posture she'd imagined when listening to his voice. She slammed her laptop shut. No, this wasn't possible. She'd been texting a billionaire for 2 months, telling him about her mediocre studio apartment and her struggling art classes, complaining about student loan payments. She'd sent him a voice note about finding a $20 bill in her coat pocket and feeling rich. Oh God. Her phone buzzed. A message from him. "You're quiet tonight. Everything okay?" Oluchi stared at the words. Her hands were trembling too hard to type. She'd been real with him. Completely, vulnerably real. And he'd been hiding behind a wall of omission, letting her spill her average, ordinary life while sitting in some penthouse suite, probably laughing at how small her problems were. "Oluchi," he texted. She typed back with shaking fingers. "Who are you?" The 3 dots appeared and disappeared. Once. Twice. 3 times. "What do you mean?" he asked. "Don't," Oluchi wrote. "Don't do that. Tell me the truth. All of it." A longer pause. Then her phone rang. She almost didn't answer. But she needed to hear his voice. Needed to know if she'd imagined everything. "Oluchi," he said. His voice was quiet, careful. "What did you find?" "Does it matter?" she asked. "You clearly weren't planning to tell me." "I was," Sujin replied. "I swear I was. I just didn't know how." "How about, hi, I'm a billionaire heir to one of Korea's biggest conglomerates," Oluchi said. That would have been a good start. "Would you have kept talking to me?" he asked. The question hit her in the chest. "That's not fair." "But it's true, isn't it?" he said. "If I'd told you that first night, you would have assumed I was lying or showing off. You wouldn't have told me about your dreams or your fears or your terrible boss. You would have been polite and distant and we wouldn't have this." Oluchi's eyes burned. "So you lied." "I never lied," Sujin said. "I just didn't tell you something that doesn't define me." "Doesn't define you?" Oluchi asked. "Sujin, you're worth billions. That's not a small detail." "To everyone else, that's all I am," he replied. But with you, I was just me. Do you know how rare that is? Do you know how long it's been since someone talked to me like a person instead of a transaction? She wanted to stay angry, wanted to hold on to the betrayal. But his voice was cracking, and she could hear the loneliness underneath. You should have told me, Oluchi said. I know, he replied. I'm sorry. I was selfish. I just wanted a little longer where someone saw me instead of my last name. Oluchi closed her eyes. I don't know what to do with this. I understand, Sujin said. If you want to stop talking, I'll respect that. Did she want that? She should. This was too complicated. Too unbalanced. She was a struggling artist eating dollar ramen, and he was flying private to business meetings. They existed in different universes. But God, she'd miss him. She'd miss his voice and his questions and the way he remembered every small thing she told him. I need time, she finally said. Okay, he replied. Take all the time you need. Sujin. Oluchi said. Yes. Was any of it real? She asked. His voice dropped to almost a whisper. All of it. Every word. Oluchi hung up before she could say something she'd regret. She didn't text him for 3 days. The longest silence since their first conversation. Her phone felt wrong in her hand without his messages. Her studio felt emptier. She painted angry slashes of color that didn't resolve into anything coherent. Her best friend Rachel listened to the whole story over wine. So let me get this straight, Rachel said, refilling their glasses. You accidentally texted a hot Korean billionaire who proceeded to be emotionally available, supportive, and genuinely interested in your life. And you're upset about this. He lied to me, Oluchi said. Did he though? Rachel asked. Or did he just not volunteer information that would have changed how you saw him? That's the same thing, Oluchi replied. Is it? Rachel said. Oluchi, you didn't tell him your last name until week 3. You didn't mention your student loans until he asked. We all curate what we share. Oluchi slumped against the couch. This is different. How? Rachel asked. Because there's a power imbalance now, Oluchi replied. He's this untouchable prince and I'm me. Rachel grabbed her shoulders. Listen to me. You've been happier in the last 2 months than I've seen you in years. You left a job that was killing you. You started your studio. You're painting again. And yeah, maybe he gave you a push, but you did all of that. Not his money. Not his status. You. But Oluchi started. But nothing, Rachel interrupted. The question isn't whether he's rich. It's whether you trust what you had before you knew. Was it real? Oluchi thought about his voice notes. His late-night calls. The way he remembered she liked her coffee with oat milk and too much sugar. The way he'd celebrated when her first student signed up for a second class. It felt real, she said. Then maybe it was, Rachel replied. That night, Oluchi opened their text thread. Scrolled through weeks of conversations. Every message still made her smile or ache or both. She typed slowly, I'm sorry I disappeared. The response came within seconds. You don't need to apologize. I'm the one who's sorry. Can we talk? Oluchi asked. Actually talk? When, he replied. Now, she texted. Her phone rang immediately. Hi, she said, her voice smaller than intended. Hi, he replied. He sounded nervous. Actually nervous. I've missed you. I've missed you too, Oluchi said. Oluchi, I need you to understand something, Sujin said. I didn't tell you about my family because I wanted one thing in my life that was mine. Not theirs. Not the company's. Mine. And when you texted me that night, drunk and angry and heartbreakingly honest, you gave me that. You didn't see a name or a fortune. You just saw someone willing to listen. Do you know how incredible that is? Oluchi's throat tightened. I was just venting to a stranger. You were being real, he said. And I hadn't experienced real in so long I'd forgotten what it felt like. Why didn't you just tell me later? She asked. Once we gotten to know each other? I tried, Sujin replied. God, I tried so many times. But every time I got close, I thought about losing you. About you pulling away or treating me differently. And I couldn't do it. I was a coward. She heard the pain in his voice. The genuine regret. You're not a coward. You're just lonely. Yes, he said. I'm so lonely, Oluchi. Even surrounded by people, I'm lonely. Except when I'm talking to you. Tears slipped down her cheeks. This is really unfair, you know that? You can't just say things like that and expect me to. I know, Sujin interrupted. I know I don't have the right to ask anything from you. But I'm asking anyway. Don't give up on this. On us. Whatever we are. I don't even know what we are, Oluchi said. Neither do I, he replied. But I know I don't want to lose you. Oluchi wiped her face with the back of her hand. I don't want to lose you either. But I don't know how to do this. You're in Seoul. I'm in Portland. You're in boardrooms and I'm teaching painting to retirees. How would this even work? I don't know, Sujin said. But I want to try. Don't you? Did she? It would be easier to walk away. Cleaner. Less complicated. She could go back to her simple life with her small studio and her ordinary problems. But she didn't want simple. She wanted him. Yes, she whispered. I want to try. She heard his exhale, shaky with relief. Thank you. They talked until the sun came up. Really talked. He told her about the weight of expectations. About board meetings where he was the youngest person by 20 years. About family dinners that felt like strategic negotiations. About the apartment in Seoul that felt like a hotel room because he was never there long enough to make it home. Oluchi told him about her fears. About imposter syndrome every time a new student walked through her door. About her mother's disappointment that she'd given up a real job for a hobby. About lying awake at night wondering if she'd made a terrible mistake. You didn't, he said firmly. You're brave. You're doing what most people only dream about. Says the man with a safety net the size of a small country, Oluchi replied. Money doesn't make you brave, Sujin said. It just makes you comfortable. You risked everything. That's courage. By the time they hung up, something had shifted. The secret was out. The cards were on the table. And somehow, against all logic, they were still here. The next 2 weeks were different. Honest. He sent her photos of his actual life, his office with its wall of windows overlooking Seoul, the Hanok-style house where he'd grown up, his sister making faces at him during a family dinner. She sent him paint-stained selfies and videos of her students' work and a photo of her studio with the afternoon light streaming through the windows. You built that, he typed back. You should be proud. I am, she wrote. Terrified, but proud. They video called for the first time on a random Tuesday. Oluchi's stomach had been in knots all day. What if the image didn't match the voice? What if seeing his face made it all too real? When his face appeared on her screen, her breath caught. The photos hadn't lied. Sharp features. Dark eyes. But it was his expression that undid her, vulnerable and uncertain and so devastatingly hopeful. Hi, he said softly. Hi, Oluchi replied. She couldn't stop staring. You're real. He laughed, the sound lighter than she'd ever heard it. So are you. You're beautiful. Oluchi's face heated. I'm wearing paint-stained overalls and haven't washed my hair in 2 days. Still beautiful, he said. They talked for an hour, neither able to look away from the screen. It was strange and wonderful and terrifying to see his expressions match his words. The way his eyes crinkled when he smiled. The way he ran his hand through his hair when he was thinking. This feels different, Oluchi said. Good different or bad different, he asked. Scary different. You're not just a voice anymore, she replied. Neither are you, Sujin said. Oluchi, can I ask you something? Anything, she said. He hesitated, his jaw tightening. Would you want to meet? In person? Her heart slammed against her ribs. In person? I know it's a lot, he said. And I know you're busy with the studio. But I could come to Portland. Or you could come here. Or we could meet somewhere neutral. Whatever makes you comfortable. Oluchi's mind raced. Meet him. Actually meet him. Stand in the same room. Breathe the same air. Touch him. I'm scared, she admitted. Me too, he replied. What if it's not the same? Oluchi asked. What if it is? Sujin said. She looked at his face on the screen, this man who'd appeared in her life by accident and somehow become essential. Okay. His eyes widened. Okay, Oluchi said. But I come to you. I want to see your world. Oluchi, he started. I need to see all of it, she interrupted. Not just the parts you think I can handle. If we're doing this, I need to know what I'm stepping into. He nodded slowly. Okay. When? Give me 2 weeks, she replied. I need to arrange coverage for my classes. 2 weeks, he said. I'll send you the details. After they hung up, Oluchi sat in stunned silence. She was going to Seoul. To meet him. To make this impossibly complicated thing even more real. Rachel screamed when Oluchi told her, "You're flying to Korea to meet your billionaire wrong number boyfriend? This is literally a fanfiction." "He's not my boyfriend," Oluchi said. Yet, Rachel replied, "Oh my God, what are you going to wear?" The next 2 weeks were a blur of anxiety and excitement. Oluchi arranged for a friend who taught pottery to cover her classes. She bought a new suitcase. She researched Seoul obsessively, watching YouTube videos and reading travel blogs until she could navigate the subway system in her sleep. Sujin texted her constantly. Restaurant recommendations. Weather updates. Small reassurances that he was just as nervous as she was. "What if I'm disappointing in person?" she asked during a call 3 days before her flight. "Impossible," he replied. "You don't know that," Oluchi said. "I do," Sujin said. "Oluchi, I've talked to you almost every day for 3 months. I know how you think. How you see the world. That doesn't change because we're in the same room. What if the chemistry isn't there?" Oluchi asked. "Then we'll deal with it," he said. "But I don't think that's going to be the problem." "What do you think the problem will be?" she asked. A pause. "That you'll see my life and decide it's not worth the complication." Her heart twisted. "Sujin." "It's okay," he interrupted. "I won't blame you. I know what I'm asking." "You're not asking anything," Oluchi said. "I'm choosing this." "Are you sure?" he asked. Oluchi took a breath. "No, but I'm doing it anyway." The flight was 13 hours. Oluchi barely slept. She watched movies without absorbing them. She picked at her meals. She drafted and deleted text messages to him a dozen times. When she finally landed at Incheon International Airport, exhaustion and nerves had fused into a strange, floaty feeling. She collected her bag, went through customs, and emerged into the arrivals hall with her heart trying to escape her chest. And there he was, standing near the back, partially hidden behind a pillar. He was taller than she'd imagined, dressed simply in dark jeans and a black sweater. His eyes locked onto hers across the crowd, and everything else dissolved. Oluchi walked toward him on shaking legs. Each step felt monumental. 3 months of texts and calls and voice notes and video chats had led to this moment, 2 people who knew everything and nothing about each other, meeting for the first time. She stopped 3 feet away, close enough to see the nervous flutter of his throat, close enough to smell his cologne, close enough to notice his hands were trembling too. "Hi," she managed. "Hi," he said. His voice was rough. "You're here." "I'm here," Oluchi replied. They stared at each other. The awkwardness was excruciating and perfect. Oluchi didn't know what to do with her hands. Sujin seemed equally lost. Then he smiled. A small, uncertain smile that transformed his face. "This is weird, right?" Oluchi laughed, the tension breaking. "So weird. Can I?" He gestured vaguely. "Can I hug you?" "Please," she said. He stepped forward and wrapped his arms around her. Oluchi buried her face in his chest, breathing him in. He was solid and real and warm, and somehow, impossibly, he felt like home. "I can't believe you're here," he murmured into her hair. "Me neither," Oluchi said. They stood like that for a long moment, the arrivals hall chaos continuing around them. When they finally pulled apart, neither could stop smiling. "You must be exhausted," Sujin said. "I'm too nervous to be tired," Oluchi replied. "Me too," he said. He picked up her bag. "Come on. Let's get out of here." The car waiting outside was exactly what Oluchi had expected: sleek, black, expensive. A driver opened the door. Oluchi slid in, hyper-aware of Sujin settling beside her. "I booked you a hotel room," he said as the car pulled away. "I didn't want to presume anything. But if you're not too tired, maybe we could get dinner." Oluchi looked at him, this man she knew so well and was meeting for the first time. "Dinner sounds good." He took her to a small restaurant tucked down a side street. Not fancy. Not flashy. Just quiet and warm with wooden tables and soft lighting. "I wanted somewhere we could talk," he explained. "Somewhere normal." They ordered too much food. Oluchi tried to focus on eating, but she couldn't stop watching him. The way his hands moved when he talked. The way he listened with his whole body. It was him. The person she'd fallen for through texts. But now she could see him breathe. This is surreal, Oluchi said. Good surreal, he asked. I don't know yet, she replied. She smiled to soften the words. Ask me tomorrow. Fair enough, Sujin said. They talked for hours. The same easy conversation as their calls, but richer somehow. She could see his expressions change. Watch his eyes light up when she laughed. Notice the way he leaned closer when she spoke. At one point, his hand moved across the table. Slow. Tentative. His fingers brushed hers. A question. Oluchi threaded her fingers through his. Answer. I like you, he said quietly. I know that's obvious, but I need to say it. I like you. The real you. Oluchi from Portland who teaches painting and drinks too much coffee and texts me at 2 in the morning about weird dreams. I like you too, she whispered. Even though you're impossible and complicated and your life is nothing like mine. Does that scare you? He asked. Terrifying, Oluchi replied. But you're here, he said. I'm here, she agreed. When the restaurant closed, they walked through the streets of Seoul. Oluchi was exhausted, jet-lagged, overwhelmed. But she didn't want the night to end. Didn't want to go back to her hotel room alone. Can I see you tomorrow? Sujin asked when they finally stopped outside her hotel. Yes, Oluchi said. And the day after. I'm here for a week, remember? I remember, he replied. I just don't want to assume. Oluchi reached up and cupped his face. His skin was warm beneath her palm. Stop overthinking. He covered her hand with his. That's rich coming from you. I know, she said with a smile. We're a mess, aren't we? The best kind of mess, Sujin replied. He walked her to her room. They stood outside her door, neither wanting to say goodnight. Thank you for coming, Sujin said. I know it was a big risk. Thank you for answering my drunk text, Oluchi replied. He laughed. Best wrong number I've ever received. Oluchi unlocked her door but didn't open it. Sujin. Yes, he said. I'm glad nothing about you has changed, she said. You're exactly who I thought you'd be. His expression softened. So are you. She went inside alone. Collapsed on the bed. Grabbed her phone and texted Rachel. I just met him. He's real. And I think I'm in serious trouble. Rachel's response was immediate. The good kind of trouble, right? Oluchi smiled at her phone and typed back, yeah, the good kind. The next morning, Oluchi woke to a text from Sujin. Good morning. How did you sleep? She typed back with a smile. Terribly. Jet lag and overthinking. Same, he replied. Want to get breakfast? They met at a cafe near her hotel. Oluchi was wearing jeans and a sweater, her hair still damp from the shower. When she walked in and saw him waiting at a corner table, her stomach flipped. He stood when he saw her, that small smile playing on his lips. You look beautiful. I look like I got hit by a truck, Oluchi said. A very beautiful truck, he replied. Oluchi rolled her eyes, but couldn't suppress her grin. They ordered coffee and pastries, falling back into easy conversation. But there was an undercurrent now, an awareness that hadn't existed when they were separated by screens and oceans. What do you want to see today? Sujin asked. Your life, Oluchi said. The real one. Not the tourist version. He studied her for a moment. That's not very exciting. I don't want exciting, she replied. I want honest. So he took her to his office. The building was glass and steel, towering over the city. Oluchi felt small in the massive lobby, surrounded by people in expensive suits who all seemed to know exactly where they were going. This is overwhelming, she murmured. Sujin's hand found the small of her back. Just stay with me. His office was on the 42nd floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Minimalist furniture. A desk that looked like it cost more than her entire studio. Oluchi walked to the windows, looking out over Seoul spread beneath them like a living map. You work here every day? She asked. When I'm in the country, yes, Sujin replied. It's beautiful, Oluchi said. And lonely. He came to stand beside her. Very lonely. I spend most days talking to people who see me as a signature on a contract. You're the first person in years who's talked to me like I'm just a person. Oluchi turned to face him. They were closer than they'd been last night. She could see the fine lines around his eyes, the exact shade of brown in his irises. You are just a person, Sujin, she said. A person who happens to have a complicated life. Is it too complicated? He asked. His voice dropped. For you, I mean. She thought about it. Really thought. I don't know yet. But I'm not running away. Yet, he said. Yet, Oluchi agreed with a small smile. He showed her the rest of his world over the next few days. The family estate, a traditional Hanok compound hidden behind modern walls. His apartment sleek and impersonal, exactly as he'd described. The art gallery he visited when he needed to think. The late-night pojangmaka where he ate tteokbokki when he couldn't sleep. Oluchi photographed everything. Not the impressive parts, she left those alone. She captured the way light hit the courtyard of the Hanok. The single plant struggling to survive in his apartment. The worn menu at the pojangmaka. What are you doing? Sujin asked, watching her photograph a crack in the sidewalk. Collecting moments, Oluchi said. The real ones. He looked at her like she'd said something profound instead of obvious. They fell into a rhythm. Mornings together. Afternoons when he had to work and she explored the city alone. Evenings when they'd meet for dinner and talk for hours. Late nights when they'd walk through quiet neighborhoods, their hands occasionally brushing. But they didn't kiss. The tension built and built, electric and unspoken, but neither crossed that final line. On her 5th day, Oluchi finally asked, "Why haven't you kissed me?" They were sitting on a bench in Olympic Hong, watching the sunset. Sujin's hand was resting next to hers, their pinkies touching. He didn't pretend to misunderstand. Because once I do, everything changes, he said. And I don't want this to end. This has to end either way, Oluchi replied. I leave in 2 days. I know, he said. Oluchi turned to face him. So, what are we doing? What is this? I don't know, Sujin said. What do you want it to be? I want it to be real, she replied. But I don't know how to make it real when I'm in Portland and you're here. When our lives are so different they barely touch. Sujin was quiet for a long moment. I can't give you normal, Oluchi. I can't give you simple. My life is complicated and public and sometimes suffocating. There will be pressure from my family. Attention from media. Questions about who you are and why you matter. You're really selling this, Oluchi said. I'm being honest, he replied. Because you deserve to know what you'd be signing up for. He finally looked at her. But I can give you me. All of me. The parts that are tired and lonely and desperate for something real. I can give you someone who will answer your texts at 3 in the morning and who wants to know about your day and who thinks you're the bravest person he's ever met. Oluchi's eyes stung. That's not fair. I know, he said. You can't just say things like that and expect me to, she started. I'm not expecting anything, Sujin interrupted. I'm just telling you the truth. She looked at him, this impossible man who'd walked into her life through a drunk text and somehow become essential. I don't know if I'm strong enough for this. You're strong enough for anything, he said. You left a job that was killing you. You started a business with no safety net. You flew to another country to meet a stranger. Oluchi, you're terrifying. She laughed despite the tears threatening to fall. I'm not terrifying. I'm scared all the time. Being scared and doing it anyway is the definition of courage, Sujin said. You sound like a fortune cookie, Oluchi replied. A very wise fortune cookie, he said. They sat in silence, watching the last of the sunlight fade. Oluchi's mind raced. She could walk away. Keep this as a beautiful, impossible story she'd tell at dinner parties. Or she could jump. Trust that the fall wouldn't break her. Okay, she said quietly. Okay, he asked. Okay, let's try, Oluchi said. I don't know how it'll work. And I'm probably going to freak out multiple times. But I want to try. Sujin's hand covered hers completely. Are you sure? No, she replied. But I'm doing it anyway. He smiled, not the careful, controlled smile he wore for the world, but something genuine and bright and devastating. Thank you, he said. Don't thank me yet, Oluchi replied. I'm a lot to deal with. I'm aware, he said. I've been dealing with you for 3 months. Oluchi shoved his shoulder. Rude. Honest, Sujin replied. They walked back through the Hong as darkness fell. Oluchi was hyper-aware of his hand in hers, the way their steps had synchronized. When they reached her hotel, they stood outside like teenagers prolonging goodbye. "Tomorrow's your last full day," Sujin said. "Don't remind me," Oluchi replied. "What do you want to do?" he asked. "Something normal," she said. "No fancy restaurants or impressive buildings. Just us." "I can do that," he said. He started to pull away, but Oluchi caught his arm. "Sujin." "Yes," he said. She rose on her tiptoes and kissed his cheek. Close to his mouth, but not quite. "Good night." His eyes darkened. "You're cruel." "I know," Oluchi said with a smile and disappeared into the lobby. The next day, Sujin picked her up wearing jeans and a simple t-shirt. He looked younger, less burdened. They took the subway, his insistence, and ended up at a quiet neighborhood market. "This is where I used to come with my sister when we were kids," Sujin explained, leading her through narrow aisles. She'd steal samples and I'd apologize to all the vendors. Oluchi could picture it, a younger Sujin, serious and responsible even then. "You were the good kid. I was the boring kid," he said. "There's a difference," Oluchi replied. They bought ingredients for lunch and took them back to his apartment. Oluchi had been there before, but this felt different. More intimate. They cooked together, Sujin teaching her how to make proper kimchi jjigae while she made him laugh with her terrible knife skills. "You're going to lose a finger," he warned, gently correcting her grip. "Then you'll have to cook for me forever," Oluchi said. "That was your plan all along, wasn't it?" he asked. They ate sitting on his living room floor, bowls balanced on their knees. The food was too hot and Oluchi's eyes watered, but it was perfect. After, they did dishes side by side, their arms brushing. "I don't want you to leave tomorrow," Sujin said quietly. "I don't want to leave," Oluchi replied. "Then don't," he said. Oluchi turned off the water. "You know I have to." "I know," he said. "But I can wish." They moved to the couch. Oluchi tucked herself against his side, her head on his shoulder. His arm came around her automatically. They didn't turn on the TV or music. Just sat in comfortable silence. "What happens when I leave?" Oluchi asked eventually. "We figure it out," Sujin said. "Texts. Calls. Visits when we can." "That sounds hard," she said. "It will be," he replied. "But worth it. At least, I think so." Oluchi tilted her head to look at him. "You think so?" "I know so," he said. He brushed a strand of hair from her face. "Oluchi, I haven't felt this way about anyone in, maybe ever. I'm not letting you go without a fight." Her breath caught. "Sujin." "I'm going to kiss you now," he said softly. "If that's okay." Finally, she breathed. He smiled and then his mouth was on hers. Soft at first. Questioning. Oluchi's hand came up to cup his jaw, and the kiss deepened. It was everything and nothing like she'd imagined. Sweet and desperate and absolutely right. When they finally pulled apart, both were breathing hard. "Wow," Oluchi whispered. "Yeah," Sujin said. He rested his forehead against hers. "Worth the wait." "Absolutely worth the wait," she replied. They kissed again. And again. The afternoon dissolved into evening. At some point, they ordered takeout that got cold while they talked and kissed and talked some more. "I leave at noon tomorrow," Oluchi said eventually, her voice heavy with reluctance. "I know," he replied. "Will you take me to the airport?" she asked. "Try to stop me," Sujin said. That night, Oluchi didn't go back to her hotel. They fell asleep on Sujin's couch, tangled together, neither willing to let go. Oluchi woke at dawn with his arm around her waist, his breath warm against her neck. She'd come to Seoul not knowing what to expect. And she was leaving with her heart in someone else's hands. The airport was torture. They checked her bag in silence. Went through her boarding pass ritual without speaking. Stood at the security checkpoint with too much to say and no time to say it. "This isn't goodbye," Sujin said firmly. "I know," Oluchi replied. "I'll call you when you land," he said. "Okay," she said. "Oluchi," he said. He cupped her face in both hands. "This is going to work. We're going to make it work." "How can you be so sure?" she asked. "Because I'm not ready to lose you," he replied. "And I don't think you're ready to lose me either." She kissed him. Right there in the crowded airport. Poured everything she couldn't say into it. When they pulled apart, Both had tears in their eyes. Go, Sujin said roughly. Before I do something crazy like buy out all the seats on your flight. Oluchi laughed despite everything. That's exactly the kind of thing that makes this complicated. But worth it, he asked. Worth it, she said. She forced herself to walk toward security. Looked back once. He was still standing there, hands in his pockets, watching her with an expression that made her chest ache. Then she turned the corner and he was gone. The flight home was endless. Oluchi couldn't sleep. Couldn't focus. Just replayed the last week over and over. His smile. His voice. The way he'd held her like she was precious. When she landed in Portland, her phone exploded with messages. Did you land? Are you okay? I miss you already. Oluchi smiled through her exhaustion and typed, landed. Exhausted. Missing you too. When can we video call? He asked. Give me 12 hours to sleep and shower, she replied. Okay, he wrote. But I'm counting. Rachel picked her up from the airport, bursting with questions. Oluchi tried to explain, but words felt inadequate. How do you describe someone becoming essential? How do you explain falling for someone when you know it's complicated and maybe impossible? So what now? Rachel asked. Now we figure it out, Oluchi said. Long distance. Visits when we can. Just trying. Oluchi, you're glowing, Rachel said. I haven't seen you like this in years. I'm terrified, Oluchi replied. But happy? Rachel asked. Yeah, Oluchi said. Terrifyingly happy. Life resumed its rhythm. Studio classes. Bill payments. Grocery shopping. But everything felt different now. Oluchi had texts to look forward to. Calls to anticipate. The knowledge that somewhere across the world, someone was thinking about her. They video called every day. Sometimes for hours. Sometimes just for 10 minutes between his meetings. They sent photos of mundane things, Oluchi's morning coffee, Sujin's view from his office, a painting Oluchi was working on, the sunset Sujin saw while traveling. I'm coming to visit next month, Sujin announced 3 weeks after she'd left. What? Oluchi said. You can't just. I can and I am, he interrupted. I've cleared my schedule. 4 days. Is that okay? Oluchi's heart raced. More than okay. When he arrived in Portland, it felt like coming home. He fit into her small apartment like he belonged there. Met her friends. Ate at her favorite cheap Thai place. Sat in on one of her painting classes and was absolutely terrible at it. I can't believe you're bad at something, Oluchi teased. I'm bad at lots of things, he said. Name one other thing, she said. Letting you go, Sujin replied. Her heart melted. Cheesy. But effective, he asked. Very effective, Oluchi said. They fell into each other so easily it was scary. Like they'd been doing this for years instead of months. Oluchi caught herself thinking about logistics. About what it would mean if he stayed longer. If she moved to Seoul. If they tried to split time between both places. But she pushed those thoughts away. For now, she just wanted to enjoy having him here. On his last night, they lay in her bed watching the rain against the windows. Come to Seoul for Christmas, Sujin said quietly. That's 3 months away, Oluchi said. I know, he replied. But I want you there. I want you to meet my family. Properly. Not just a quick introduction. Oluchi's stomach tightened. Your family. The Hong Industries family. Yes, he said. But mostly just my family. Sujin, they're going to think I'm, she started. Perfect, he interrupted. They're going to think you're perfect. Unlikely, Oluchi said. He rolled over to face her. Oluchi, I love you. The words hung in the air between them. Oluchi's breath caught. You don't have to say it back, Sujin continued quickly. I just needed you to know. I love you. I love your stubbornness and your talent and the way you see the world. I love that you challenge me. I love that you make me want to be more than just a name on a building. Tears spilled down Oluchi's cheeks. I love you too. I'm terrified and it's complicated and I have no idea how this works, but I love you. He kissed her. Soft and sweet and certain. We'll figure it out, he promised. Together. Oluchi asked. Together, he said. The next morning, she watched him leave for the airport. It hurt less this time. Not because it was easier, but because she knew he'd be back. They'd find a way. Oluchi went to her studio and painted. Bold strokes. Vibrant colors. Hope captured in acrylic. A student wandered in and stopped. "That's beautiful," the student said. "What is it?" Oluchi stepped back, considering. "Someone I love. And the life we're building. One impossible moment at a time." She went to Seoul for Christmas. Met his family in their imposing traditional home. His mother was polite but assessing. His father barely spoke. His sister, though, hugged Oluchi like they were already family. "Thank you," she whispered. He smiles now. He didn't used to. The relationship wasn't easy. There were arguments about schedules and misunderstandings across time zones. There were moments when Oluchi wondered if love was enough. When Sujin's world felt too big and hers felt too small. But there were also mornings when she woke to sweet messages. Evenings when his face appeared on her screen and everything felt right. Visits that felt like coming home. The slow, steady building of something real. 6 months after that drunk text, Oluchi sat in her studio with a cup of coffee, watching her students paint. Her phone buzzed. A message from Sujin. "I have a crazy idea." Oluchi smiled and typed, "I'm listening." "What if we stopped doing this halfway?" he wrote. "What if you moved here? Or I moved there? Or we found somewhere we both want to be?" Her heart raced. This was real. This was him asking for forever in their own complicated way. She typed back slowly, "That is a crazy idea." "But," he asked. "But I think we should talk about it," Oluchi wrote. "Seriously talk." "When?" he replied. "I can come next month," she texted. "I'll be counting the days," he wrote. Oluchi set down her phone and looked around her studio. At the life she'd built from nothing. At the dreams she'd made real. And she realized something profound. She hadn't stopped building her life when she fell in love. She'd just expanded the foundation to include someone else. She didn't fall in love with a billionaire. She fell in love with the man who answered when she thought she was done. The man who listened when she'd given up on being heard. The man who saw her not as she pretended to be, but as she truly was. And together, they were building something neither had imagined possible. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more romance stories that'll make your heart race. Drop a comment and tell me what you'd do if you accidentally texted a billionaire. Would you be brave enough to take the chance? Let me know below. New stories every week, so don't miss out. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes the best love stories start with a mistake.